Alright guys, so this morning we got a nice 10 to 12 miler. I'm going for these super cushioned guys here because we have the Hoka Cielo coming through today. That new carbon plated marathon racer. It looks like it's going to be a super fun, also kind of aggressive option. The rocker on that looks insane, comparable to the Alpha Fly. So this morning I'm going to go with a nice cushioned cruiser here, New Balance 1080 V13. These guys have about 260 miles on them right now, and I would really love to get them up to 300 miles soon so I can do a 300 mile update and review for you all. Durability has been solid on the foam and just the general upper and vibe, but rubber on these guys hasn't been great. So anyway, yeah, nice little aerobic 12 miler this morning, and then once these shoes come through later, we'll get on that double. Hopefully we'll have a little nice time to recover before those Hokas get here. Also, this is the first time where I'm going to be running with these on the wet, so we can really test out the grip because, man, it has just been raining and raining here in the Carolinas. I've said this before, but people underrate North Carolina in terms of our weather. It's like Seattle or Portland or something. It is almost always gray in January and February. It's terrible. Or it's great. I don't know. Depends your perspective on it. You gotta have the rainy days to enjoy the sunny ones, right? This has got to be one of the most comfortable shoes on the market today. If you think you got a shoe that's more comfortable than the New Balance 1080, that is not the Asics Gel Nimbus, because I've tried that one. Let me know in the comments. What do you think is the most comfortable shoe available for sale today? My money is on these guys right here. But if you guys got other ones out there, I'll try them. All right, guys, just finished 12 miles. Let's see, it's rainy. You can get a good look at that. 8:06 pace. 1 hour and 37 minutes. And these are my absolute favorite runs of the week. I think a few years ago, I loved the speed, tempo, just absolutely shredding pace. I mean, when I started running every day, I would just go out and run 6:15, 6:30 pace. And when I worked up to that pace range. But now I love these nice relaxed running days. This is where I do my best thinking about the business, about just ideas for videos and things to improve in my life. Can't really beat these relaxed running days. Anyway, we got about 280 miles on these guys now. I really don't like taking my light shoes out on these gross days. I like to keep them nice, but there's that expression, you know, you gotta burn your nice candles. So we got our nice candle burnt a little bit today. By the way, I got the OS First socks on today. I usually rotate between the OS First brand and the Features, so if you have any issues with your feet, OS First is good, and then Futures is good for some nice comfy cushion socks. I just had to do a little scrub down with these guys. I couldn't live with them being all mucked up. Gotta treat the shoes nicely, you know? And then they'll love you right back. Alright, see you guys in a few days for the 300 mile review. Wait, don't close that yet. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. More? Boom, 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 boom. hillier than it looks. Alright, 6.4 miles, a nice relaxed 8:40 pace with Reevesy boy in the stroller. What do you think, buddy boy? Bagel time? Is it bagel time?
Yes.
Alright, let's do it. Alright guys, so today we have a review of the beautiful New Balance 1080 V13. So I first got this guy after my half marathon build last year, and I was looking for something with a ton of stack, a ton of cushion to help my recovery, and you can see there's a ton of this fresh foam down here. Nice soft foam. And I was deciding between this and a few other options, and I went for it because it was new on the market at that time. And I wanted to give New Balance another chance, especially this fresh foam, because I tried the More V4, which has a similar stack to this. It's just a bit taller, but I didn't love that shoe. So with the 1080 V13 here, they made a huge update from the V12, which also had this fresh foam, but was a little bit of a different compound here. And I really got along with the shoe right away. So in this video, I'm gonna take you through my experience with the shoe so far through 300 miles. You can see I've put a ton of wear on this guy here, but it is holding up really well. So we'll go through my experience with the shoe. I'll tell you about the ride, the fit, the upper, the general vibe of it, what I've liked for it so far. And then I'm also gonna compare it to a few other shoes that I think are really close competitors to it. And I'll let you know which one of these might be the best for your rotation. So over the past few weeks, I've been putting a ton of miles on the 1080 again. So we've been testing a lot of these carbon fiber plated shoes on the channel right now. We just got in the New Balance SC Elite, the Valkyrie Elite from that new brand TYR or Tier. I gotta figure out what the right way is to pronounce that name. And we got the Hoka, and I've been deep into this marathon training season right now. So having a lot of these plated shoes is great, but on the days where I'm not testing those shoes and I'm not running fast workouts, I just wanna get out there, cruise, throw down some nice relaxed pace, not worry about how fast I'm going at all, not look at my watch, not care about the splits. And the 1080 is the one that I've been reaching for just consistently over and over again to do that. Now at the end of last year, I was running in the Boston 12 a lot, in the Vomero, as well as this, and I've slowly gravitated towards putting almost all of my miles that are not in a plated shoe on this thing because it's just so comfortable. And that's the key thing with this shoe and how it's been so great throughout those 300 miles and why it's had a little bit better durability for me than its average, is because its main goal is to keep you comfortable and cushioned over the long haul, and it's done that through every single one of those 300 miles. So what we're seeing in the midsole here is New Balance's Fresh Foam compound. Now Fresh Foam is an EVA, I believe it's an EVA blend. It's really soft, and if you look at me pushing it in here, you can see my fingers can get pretty deep in this thing, and underfoot, the ride experience of this is just so cushioned and really, really comfortable. Now New Balance has a few max cushion shoes in their lineup. They have the SC Trainer V2, they have this, they have the More V4. So the SC Trainer V2 uses fuel cell, that's a little bit of a faster, bouncier foam. Then More V4 has a higher stack height in this, and I actually tried the More V4. I did not like it at all. It had a little bit of that feeling that I didn't like in the Gel Nimbus, where it's kind of, I'm fighting against the foam, and I didn't get that at all in this shoe. It does still have a really tall stack height. I believe it's 38 in the heel and 32 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop, but something about it just makes it not feel as mushy and as tall as a lot of those other max cushion shoes out there. It does a really nice job protecting my legs without forcing me to alter my mechanics at all, which can be an issue with some of the other max cushion shoes out there that are either super bouncy, so they force you to run a little bit differently by wanting you to maybe run a little bit faster than you normally would on a relaxed effort, or some of those other shoes also have a really big rocker, which we don't see at all in this midsole. There's just a nice gentle toe spring, which means it's really good for those relaxed running days. Now that's what I've enjoyed this shoe the most for, just those days where I'm getting out there and cruising. I think the longest I've taken it is probably 15 or 16 miles. I haven't done any long runs in this because these days when I'm doing 20 or 22 mile long runs, I'm probably putting some marathon pace in there. And for that use case, I would really appreciate having a plated shoe to give me a little bit more pop at the end of those long runs when I'm tired. But for this guy here, I love using it as a daily trainer. And last year, I actually didn't like using soft cushion shoes as a daily trainer. So it's really going to depend where you are in your training block, where you are in the cycle of your training, how this might be used. So this is a shoe that you could use as a recovery running shoe. And that's what I like to do for the most part, is take this out on those days where I really don't want to put any pace into the run. But right now, I'm also doing most of my everyday runs at a recovery pace because I am doing a lot of workouts during the week testing out these shoes. So if I don't have a carbon plated shoe on my foot, I just want to cruise and go at a slow pace. So in terms of the ride experience of this, it's not going to be super bouncy. It's not going to give you the most energy return. Before I started filming this video, I actually saw Andrew over at Midlife Runner. He posted I think it was probably like a negative review of the 1080 V13. He commented on my video last night. It's like, dude, you're not going to like the video I'm posting tomorrow or something. And I haven't watched it completely yet because I didn't want his negativity to pollute my brain. I will watch it later. So if you want an alternate perspective on the 1080 V13, go check out that video. But for me, I like the fact that it's not the fastest feeling shoe because there are so many great fast training shoes out there, even in New Balance's own lineup, right? They have the Rebel V3, which is a fast non-plated shoe, and then they have the SC Trainer V2, which isn't the fastest shoe out there, but it does have a plate. It competes almost with the 1080 as a plated version of this. So if you want some pop, some get up and go for daily training or a little bit of pop for recovery efforts, that's where the Rebel V3 comes in for daily training, and the SC Trainer V2 for those recovery efforts with a little bit more spice to it. So this guy has a clearly defined role, and that's something I talk a lot about on this channel, right? Can these products fulfill the brief that they're designed to execute on? And this one does a really good job at that because the ride experience is soft, it's comfortable, it doesn't encourage you to do anything weird with running out there, and it's going to leave your legs feeling super protected out there on the run. Now, with this being a comfort-oriented shoe, it is also a great choice for strapping up before the run or leaving on your feet after the run, which is something that I've been doing a lot recently. Normally, I'll just put my shoes on right outside the door of my office and then go run around the neighborhood, come back, take them off. But over the past week or so, since the baby was born, I've been doing more of the school pickup and drop off, and I'll put on my daily trainer, whatever shoe I'm running on, and wear that in the car, do it for the errands, come back, take it off. And most of the time, it's been the 1080 here, and it is super comfortable for that. It is, I think, the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn just as a sneaker. And the other shoe that I use for that sometimes is the Ghost Max, but this just absolutely takes the cake. So as a daily trainer or as a shoe that you want to pull for every day for running and for non-running, this is going to be a super comfortable choice. Now, with that theme of comfort, heading up to the upper here, this is also one of the most comfortable uppers I've ever seen. It has this nice, super soft, breathable material. The tongue is extremely padded, and it's got just a nice little bit of stretch here. I actually went up half a size in these, and you could go true to size, but because I was using this as a recovery shoe, I just wanted something that I knew was going to fit my foot really well and not constrain my toes at all. So if you're like me and you want maybe a little bit more room, you could go up half a size in this guy. Head around to the back here, again, super padded in this heel collar here. There's a nice lockdown, but just the padding just cradles your foot. A little bit of padding up around here, nothing too crazy, but around the back, I love just slipping my foot into this. Then in the middle here, we have some sort of sock liner that's also very great for step-in comfort. It's just really nice putting this thing on, walking around. I immediately felt the difference when I first tried these on in the store versus the Gel Nimbus 25 that I'll pull out in a second. But this is just so much more comfortable stepping in, and the foam has held up pretty well to that 300-mile mark. Now, New Balance also did a good job with the laces here. They're normal, soft laces. I've never had to tie or retie them multiple times on the run. They have a nice lockdown, and you also, because the upper is a little bit of stretchy and the tongue is padded, this is a shoe where you don't have to crank down the laces super tight to get a nice lockdown. And then in terms of the styling, I just love the way this thing looks, dude. This nice Columbia blue colorway is a really nice color. I'm not sure how it's going to show up on camera right now, but it just looks great in person. They have some other good options, but I like this classic light Columbia or Carolina blue. And then it has these nice Duke blue accents up here, or maybe this is a periwinkle as well. And then this foam is actually a cream or off-white color, which is a really nice pairing with the blue. So overall, they did a great job with the look of the shoe. Now, in terms of the durability, this is one of the key issues that I was concerned with when I bought this shoe, because these softer foam shoes tend to not be super durable for me, and the Gel Nimbus 25 gave out at around 250 miles for me. However, that's not been my experience with this. I took it out for an 8-mile stroller run this morning. That's what crossed the 300-mile mark, and it is still going strong, and my plan for the shoe is to take it to the 400-mile club, which would be more than the Triumph, more than the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. I really really want to test how this thing does up at the higher mileage levels, but I have to say getting it to 300 miles and still having some life left in the foam is really impressive. Now, I do know some other runners have been going back and forth with some people who have taken this to around 300, 400 miles and then gotten a new pair of the 1080, and they've said they can feel the difference. There is just going to be a little bit more balance, maybe a little bit more of that impact absorption in the newer pair, but for me, there's nothing noticeable. For example, putting this on versus some of the other shoes that I'm running in, like a Vomero or the Velocity Nitro 3, this still is going to be more protective than some of the other shoes that I have, and it's still doing its job really well at 300 miles, which is a good thing because at 165, it is the most expensive shoe in the segment. That's more expensive than the Nimbus, more expensive than the Triumph. Both of those shoes are priced at 160. Now, we do see some wear and tear on the outsole here, and let me get this other guy here because I think that's where we got the biggest amount. Yeah, if you look around here, you can see we've completely chewed up around this lateral side because when I'm wearing the shoe, I'm doing more heel striking during just relaxed efforts, and I have rubbed down some of this foam here. But it hasn't really changed the performance of the ride too much yet, and because it's just a little bit of the rubber, the ground contact rubber, I don't mind running in it still, and I want to wear this thing into the ground to do a real durability test. So my plan is to keep running in it. The foam and the rubber themselves are still doing their job, so I have no issue with seeing a little bit of that degradation. And if you check out some of my other shoes here, let's take a look at the Triumph. You can see I have the same amount of wear. This guy has about 350 miles on it, and we wore through it in the same area. These are backwards, so you can see it's on the outside of the shoe. Yeah, you can see I've worn through in the same area. So this is just my wear pattern of the shoes. Same thing with the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3 here. These again have 350 miles, and you can see I've completely worn them in the back here. And then actually the Nimbus, which, yeah, look at these guys. The rubber held up decently well at 270 miles. We're not getting too much of it worn completely through like in the other shoes, but the life of this foam just gave out on me at 250. So I'd rather have the foam holding up well and the rubber going like we see in the 1080 here, because you can get a little bit more life out of the shoe, especially in a shoe like this where there's not a ton of rubber already. It's not going to affect the ride of the shoe too much. Now, this foam has held up pretty well, and I've done back-to-back run days in it. I don't think I've done any double run days, but I've put a ton of mileage on it in a row, and the foam has performed very consistently. Someone I just checked my comments asked if the foam has changed at all, and maybe it's changed a little bit from the beginning of the time I got it in October, but it's still doing its job really nicely. So I will put this up there as a durable shoe. If you're not as much of a heel scuffer as I am, you're probably going to get more durability from that rubber as well. And the performance of the rubber has been pretty good for traction. It's not going to be the grippiest out there, but it's also not going to give you a super harsh ride because putting firmer rubber under there can do that. Now, in terms of who this shoe is best for, if you want something super comfortable and super cushioned, that's what you're going to be getting in the 1080 V13. I also think it's a little bit more of a natural feeling shoe than any of those other shoes we've mentioned, like the Triumph, the Nimbus, or even the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. It doesn't force you to alter your mechanics too much when running, but it is going to give you a really nice amount of impact absorption from that fresh foam underfoot. Waiting for the neighbors to pass. Doing a little school pickup over there. So if you want a soft and cushioned daily trainer, if you want a recovery shoe, if you want something that's good for around town, for a hybrid, you can even take it to the gym, but also a really nice performance running shoe that can handle everything up to those 2-hour long run efforts, this is a great choice. Now, if you want some speed in your everyday training shoe, this is not going to be it. Do not expect any sort of get up and go in here, and that's why I like it, because I have a lot of great speed shoes. I'm testing a lot of the racers. I have some great plated training shoes like the Mizuno, I have the Saucony, the Adidas Boston 12. That's not what you're going to be getting from here. And if you want something like firmer, more robust, faster, go get the Adidas Boston 12. That's my recommendation in this segment. But if you want to be cradled in cushion, comfort, if you want something that's going to be great for those stroller runs, for walking around town, but also can handle everything up to a 16 miler or an 18 miler if you're not putting serious marathon pace in there, this is going to be the shoe for you. I also think this would be a great shoe as a first half marathon distance shoe if you're getting back into running and want something that's just going to keep you comfortable without stressing your body too much. Now, the one segment of people who should not buy this shoe are if you do not like soft shoes. This is a very soft shoe. No matter what your criteria is, this is going to feel really soft to you. Even if you're coming from a gel Nimbus or something, this is going to be a soft experience. So if you want something with more pop to it or a little bit more structured and firmer, in a cushioned daily trainer, I will highlight some other options here which will be better for you, which we'll get into now. So my first recommendation for a firmer max cushion shoe is the Saucony Endorphin Shift 3. So if you don't want something super soft, that's what I would go for here. It's got a nice rocker midsole, makes it super easy to just roll along, and it still does have a lot of impact absorption from this power run foam that we're getting here. Now I put 350 miles on the shoe and it still is performing really well at that. I just retired it because the toe box was getting a little bit narrow and I felt like the foam up in the forefoot of the sock liner was kind of changing shape a little bit. But this is also going to be a very durable shoe, so if you want something as a bigger runner or a taller runner that's more structured, more supportive, not as soft and sinking in, this is going to be the choice. Now another good alternative to the 1080 would be the Saucony Triumph 20. This one is on sale right now for 80 bucks. Same thing as that Shift 3, by the way. I'll put all the links to these in the deals below. But if you want something that's a little bit bouncier, can do faster paces better, can do marathon pace better, I would check out the Triumph here. The main difference is going to be this has a 10 millimeter drop, and then the New Balance 1080 has a 6 millimeter drop. So the heel can feel a little bit chunky and awkward at some paces for some foot strikes. I haven't had that issue at all with the 1080, but the difference is, and the trade-off is, you're going to be getting a little bit of a faster run experience in the Triumph here. Also a very durable shoe with the amount of rubber coverage that we see on the bottom. Now my last alternative to the 1080 would be the Asics Gel Nimbus 25. Now I love the 1080 and I think it's a much superior shoe in almost every single way to the Gel Nimbus. However, if that $165 price point is just a little bit too much, you don't want to spend nearly $170 for a daily trainer or a cushion shoe, because that puts it up near the price point of a lot of the plated shoes that we see in the training segment, then this is a good alternative at $120, because the Nimbus 26 just came out, which is really similar to this shoe, and that one's at $160, so they cut the price on this to $120. So the ride on this is pretty similar to the 1080, except it is a little bit more of that sinking into the foam feeling. I felt like I had to fight against the foam to turn over my legs sometimes, and particularly once I got it past that 150, 200 mile mark, just having this much amount of foam start to go dead is not a great experience. And even if the foam in the 1080 is maybe losing a little bit of life in it, it's not as much of a stack, and I also think it's a little bit lighter than this, so it's easier to turn it over, even if it is losing some of that bounce, which I haven't experienced yet. But if you do want a soft max cushion shoe that's comfort oriented and not going to break the bank, then this would be the buy at $120. All right, guys, those are my thoughts on the New Balance 1080 V13 at 300 miles. I am looking forward to getting this thing to 400 miles at some point soon and seeing how the durability does, because it's been an absolute tank for me so far. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll be back with another video tomorrow.